Welcome back to Big Movie Mouth Off, the podcast where three Salt Lake City-based critics bluster about film. I'm Jeff Counts.
I'm Brooks Bird.
And I'm Adam McDonald.
This is episode 42. Brooks, we've done 3 episodes now without a horror title. Are you okay?
I guess we know I'll probably talk about one at some point today. So
Adam, I need you to keep an eye on him, okay?
Yeah, don't worry. We have crisis counselors standing by.
I have a shirt on, so I guess that'll work.
That'll suffice. Well, we are talking about 2 films on this show. The first is Twinless, a little indie film that came up out of nowhere and surprised all of us. We're also going to talk about The Long Walk, based on the very old and beloved novella by Stephen King.
There we go. See, that will keep me in line.
There you go. There's a little bit of
Stephen King in the show.
I wouldn't call it horror, but it is
Stephen
King.
King. Yeah.
Yeah.
After that, we'll do our guilty pleasures. It's based on convoluted plots. Tell them why, Adam.
So this is episode 42. And as we all know from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, 42 is the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Wasn't the question, though. The question's a bit more convoluted. So we actually, by that convoluted train of logic, we came up with this guilty pleasure.
Well, let's get right to Twinless. Before Adam takes us through the synopsis, here's some of the trailer.
As a twin, it's like you internalize the difference between you and your other half. Who's older? I am now that she's dead. No, I'm kidding.
I'm Dennis.
Roman, I feel like being a twin kind of ruined me.
I want to hang out all the time. I'm too needy.
I hate doing things alone. Cooking meals, folding laundry.
Yeah, so much faster with 2 people.
Right? I mean, honestly, whoever invented the fitted sheet should be flagellated, and not the fun kind.
You get me.
All right, Adam, we have to be spoiler-free. Do your best with this.
Yeah, I'm going to try to be pretty vague, but the basic storyline is that Dylan O'Brien plays Roman. He is his twin brother passes away unexpectedly, and at a twin support, therapy group, he runs into Dennis, who's played by writer-director James Sweeney. Dennis also lost a twin. They kind of become an unlikely pair of friends and build a relationship no one expected.
I think this movie would have completely passed all of us by if not for one of our colleagues in the Utah Film Critics Association.
A little bit of spoiler territory. This was on my list to see at Sundance, but because of a certain scene in the movie it was a sex scene that people were pirating, they stopped showing the digital tickets. They canceled them all. So you couldn't watch digitally, only in person, and all the in-person ones were sold out. Instantly. This is like the belle of the ball. So this is one I've been wanting to see since Sundance. But we did, a friend of ours, Patrick Beatty from the group, he was the one who got us in touch with the rep to get a screening link. So Patrick Beatty, thank you very much for that. But
oh my goodness, thank you so much, Patrick.
This has been on my radar. I was going to go see it in person if I had to, but I wanted to see this in Sundance.
Well, let's talk about it. I think that this movie is one of the biggest surprises of the year so far. I didn't know about it at Sundance because I didn't go this year, but this didn't even really reach my radar the way that Sundance films normally do. You don't have to go to Sundance to hear about Sundance film.
Mm-hmm.
The industry will tell you about them. But this one, for whatever reason, was a complete surprise to me. And then when you texted us, Adam, in our group chat about how great it was, I hadn't even heard of it at that point. So I came into it really, really fresh with only your enthusiasm to guide me. And I have to say, it has rocketed to the top of my list. It's one of the best movies of the year. I'm just so shocked by how good it is. And the things I love about it, before I hand it off to you guys, are I think the script is stunning. I think the acting is off the charts. Dylan deserves a nomination for this without question. And I think there's some actually spectacular cinematography in this film. And Brooks, you saw it last, and that was the first thing you noticed was how good the camera work was.
Yeah, I mean, within, what did I text you? Like 10 minutes in, I was like, holy cow, not what you would expect from a movie like this.
Because you were the one who was like, okay, it's just a talking movie, right? I can watch it on the treadmill. And we're like, no,
which I
you
did.
need to watch it.
I did watch the
watch
first
it.
hour on the treadmill. Yeah. And even then, I was just like, holy cow.
Like many indie films, Adam, the director-writer is also starring in it, right? And
yes.
And I do not think that he was unprepared for any of those 3 jobs. I think he was up to it. We're talking about James Sweeney, and he is incredible behind the camera and in front of it.
Oh yeah, and what I loved about him was sometimes I feel directors when they are starring in their own movies, they have a tendency to want to play the hero or the good guy, and like he is a very unlikable character.
Mhm.
Like as you kind of dig more and more to him, you find his true backstory. That takes a lot of some big shoes to put on to be willing to make yourself someone that you're not going to like. I mean, there are likable things, don't get me wrong. You don't hate him, but
No.
he's definitely not the hero. So that was a big step for him that most people don't do. And kind of going back to what we said about the cinematography, like it feels like it was shot by like you would talk about auteurs. Like this is like specifically done in a way that you're like this guy's had to have been doing movies for years and years and years. When this is like what his second feature, I want to say
I
he's
think
only
so.
done like shorts.
Or maybe third.
I'll just say he does things that I'm a sucker for. We know I'm a sucker for Wonder. There's a Wonder in here. That's
Mhm.
Mm.
absolutely fantastic. He also does a thing where both Roman and Dennis are at a party and he splits the screen down the middle and shows the exact same time frame of what's happening from each person. So two separate shots that are merging together and one side is audio, one doesn't. And then at the very end, they like merge back into one scene. And that's again one of my tells. Like you do that, I will fall in love with the movie.
Well, Brooks, you and I were talking before Adam came on, before we pressed record. I think we both, Brooks, admire Sweeney's restraint because he had a couple of those tricks in his bag. If this movie was full of those cinematography tricks, I think it would have gotten a little precious and a little old, but I think he does just the right amount.
He picks exactly when it works. He knows when it works best. And yeah, he doesn't overuse it. The scene where he's recording his voicemail
Oh, yeah.
is just that just blew me away. There's that, and then there's one involving the mirror and
Mhm.
just the party scene. It's amazing. And honestly, yeah, I gotta give kudos to the cinematographer too. His name's Greg Cotton, and he hasn't really done any big movies. He did James Sweeney's last two movies, so the two have worked together continuously.
Yeah, there's a rapport
Lot
there.
of trust.
Absolutely. And I am dying to see what the two of them do next. I hope they stay together. One of the things about this movie, Adam, that could have easily made it fall apart is the twisty plot, the sort of Gone Girl structure, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to just fall into some of those movies' styles and those movies' tropes and those movies' beats. It would be so easy to just mimic or ape one of those films. But I feel like Sweeney's doing his own thing with a similar kind of subject matter.
Yeah, I walked out, and the first thing I text someone, it wasn't you two because I didn't. Well, I didn't walk out; I saw it at home. I didn't text you two because I wanted you to experience it. Was there's huge Hitchcock vibes in this,
Totally.
like
Yeah.
Hitchcock fingerprints all over the place and the influences. But I think they did a wise thing because yeah, there is some creepy things happening, just kind of interpersonal stuff. You're kind of like ew, but it never came across the point where it felt really malevolent. Like it was
Mm.
sneaky, and there was a thing where you're like, oh, like I don't know how I feel about this. But it wasn't like where they were out purposely looking to harm someone. It was
Yeah.
looking to benefit someone in a way that they hoped would also eventually benefit the other person. So as much as it was creepy and a little bit sneaky, and very selfish, I will say, I never felt that it came across as we're trying to do harm to someone. And I think that's kind of where we flip over into some other ones, like a true Hitchcock film was where like, hey, well, this person's going to go kill someone or this person's going
Right.
to rob someone or kidnap them. There's a low, low level of malevolence, but it was more about the fact that it sets you on edge because it's wrong,
Yeah.
but it's more about the fact that it's just sneaky and, doing something that we know is against your better values.
Another thing that I have to give him credit for in terms of degree of difficulty, not only did he tell kind of a tropey story in a very new way, he also lays it out early on so that you know where it's headed. You know how the whole thing is going to unfold
Mhm.
from a pretty early point. And it ends up not surprising you very much, which is gutsy. It's really gutsy to basically telegraph the whole plot and then execute it, stick the landing. I felt like that in and of itself would have been worthy of the praise we're giving it. I did find one little thing, though, that I wish were different. And I'm not going to talk about why because I don't want to give too much away, but I'm curious what you two think. I thought the ending was a little bit of a whimper. There was this thing that happens throughout the film that he sort of resolved at the ending, and I don't want to say more than that. And I just didn't think it was strong enough as a conclusion to the story that I just experienced. And this is a very, very small observation, but do you guys know what I'm talking about, first of all, and do you agree?
I think if it kind of whimpered out a little bit, it may be because of what we already talked about with him having telegraphed everything that's going to happen. And so then by the time you get to it, yeah, it works and that's the only way it could end, but it's still just kind of like, oh, okay, so it did end there. So that could be why.
It's hard to say if it was a satisfying ending or not because it was the ending you kind of had to have.
Yeah.
Like I didn't see any other way. Like the trope would have been for someone to be like, oh, don't worry, it's fine, we'll be friends. That's kind of
Hmm.
how you expect a lot of these movies to end up,
Or
even in
another
Sundance,
twist or something.
or another
Yeah.
twist.
Yeah.
So I think by having it just kind of end, and you're like, oh, that's the end of the story. That's it. It also reminded me a bit of Weekend, which was
Totally.
Michael Hay, the director who did
All of Us Strangers, yeah.
where it just kind of ends. Like sometimes when you have a relationship or you have an experience, there's just, okay, cool, bye.
Yeah.
That's how a lot of things in real life do end. And I kind of felt that was appropriate for this because if they would have done the pull in your heartstring moment, if they would have had a further revenge plot or something like that, I think it would have betrayed the essence and soul of this movie, which really is about human relationships. 100%, and how we deal with grief or how we deal with anger or sadness or everything else, joy even. And I felt that if you would have tacked on something else, it would have cheapened it. Now, that being said, could there have been a different ending? Possibly. But
Mm.
like Brooks, you said, like we know where we're going. We know what the destination is. We even know how the journey is going to be to get there for the most part, once you get the twist. But I think if you added more onto it, it wouldn't have worked. So I think it was fine for what it was, but I couldn't think of how to do it differently.
You both convinced me. I think that probably shows how committed I was to that one little critique, but I think you're both right. It kind of had to be that way. There was just the little cute trick at the very end before the
Oh, I know what you're
credits
talking about,
that
too.
I
I
that
know
I
exactly what you're talking
that
about.
I didn't think that was necessary. But all that being said, what a movie. Let's go to scores. Brooks, you've been giving out so many ridiculous fours lately. If you don't give a
You
four
really
to
want
this,
me to
I'm
start
going
with
to
that?
lose my mind. You go first,
All right.
Brooks.
Well, I mean, how good could this movie be other than 1 star? Times 4.
There you go. Nicely done.
There we go. Yep, this is a full 4 stars. I mean, the cinematography, the writing, the acting, just everything just falls into place. It's kind of weird because with Sundance movies in particular, any indie movie, not even Sundance, just independent film itself can become so cutesy and just in love with itself. That term, is it navel gazing? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it could have easily fallen into that. Or, like we also said, they could have kept going and tried to squeeze something else out of it, and it would have just completely fallen apart. So,
And it's 100 minutes long.
yeah, it's wham bam. I mean, I watched the first hour on the treadmill and then finished it, and I couldn't believe how fast that last 40 minutes went. I was like, oh, it's over? Maybe that's why it caught me off guard too, because I was like so into it. And then it was just ended, and I'm like, no. So 4 stars for me.
4 stars for me too, Brooks. I can't remember the last time I knew from the first second that I was in a Sundance movie, but I still loved it this much. This is a masterpiece. Absolutely 4 stars. I'm going to be talking about it next spring without any doubt. Adam, where are you?
4 stars as well. I don't think that's very surprising based on our off the air conversations and everyone who knows me. Yeah, I'm already pulling for Dylan O'Brien for Best Actor. I will say there's a scene, if you watch The Bear and you know the scene where he's in therapy, we have a similar version here. Not quite as intense, but it's still just, I didn't know Dylan O'Brien could act that well. Like I loved him like in The Maze
Yeah.
Runner and other things, but he's fantastic. We also would be remiss if we didn't talk about Aileen Francoisi, who plays Marcy, kind of becomes like a friend of Dennis, who becomes introduced to Roman. And what I love is that she comes across as this huge ditz, like a stupid, vapid, social media obsessed person. But if you look at it, every time she's with Dennis, that's how she acts. And when she's with Roman, she's smarter. So for me, it was like, this is how those two men see her. 4 stars for everything you said, 4 stars for everything I said. I'm campaigning already for Best Picture and Best Actor. This isn't my top 5. It's battling out with Warfare for number 1. So
Wow.
And they
Well,
couldn't be more different.
They could
couldn't
not.
be more different. Yeah.
4 stars all around for Twinless. It's not going to be as easy to see as The Long Walk, but make sure you try. It's absolutely worth your effort.
Cinemark is pushing it pretty hard, so you might be able to find it in a Cinemark.
There you go. Thank you, Adam. All right. Speaking of The Long Walk, let's talk about it next. Brooks is going to do that synopsis after a little bit of the trailer.
I'm Ray Garrity. You can call me Ray.
Prima Dreams.
And Golson's the name. Walking's my game.
I ain't many that are built like me. I'm the last of my kind. We did the very first long walk years ago to inspire everyday people.
Smile, boys. You're on candid camera.
Man, you gotta not think about the things out of your control. Think about your plan.
Personally, I can't stop thinking about all that money.
Okay, Brooks, The Long Walk.
All right, so we're in a dystopian Stephen King land, so you know what that means. It's the 19th year since something happened. I don't think they ever get into it, but we've got every state gathers up a group of boys, and they're all pitted against each other to walk till they drop, and the last man standing wins everything. And this time we've got Ray, played by Cooper Hoffman, and he is just going to do whatever he can to win it and makes a lot of friends and enemies along the way.
If you've seen the trailer, you know what happens. We have to just confront the conceit of this walk right up top. If you can't do it, you get killed. They show that in the trailer, so that's not a spoiler. We're probably going to steer clear of talking about what happens to who and when as much as we can, but that is the central conceit of this. It's a very dark, dark premise. And my sense of it, Brooks, is it's 19 years past an alternate version of World War II that we did not fare well in, that our country ended up being maybe not the loser of, but greatly diminished.
And of course it's 19 years because it's Stephen King.
Exactly. So it's got a very mid-century vibe to it. And this movie was made for $20 million, and it looks like it. And I mean that both in a good and bad way. I think it's got a little cheapness to it during certain parts. Mark Hamill's costume looks like it cost $20, not $20 million. But I do love the streamlined, concentrated nature of this film. It's shot so simply. The sets, I mean, they're not sets, excuse me. The locations seem like sets. They're so simple. I love how focused the storytelling is. It's really on the boys. That's what the point is. Anything they show you outside of their very closed world is meant to, I think, reflect what they're going through. Now, I do also think that the focus on the boys was a weakness of this film, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Adam, because I think you might agree. The acting is not always awesome, and the script is also not always awesome. There are some absolutely cringeworthy performances amongst this ensemble.
There is. I don't think we can deny that. I feel that aside from the two main leads, I mean, first of all, you got Cooper Hoffman, who is now known as Kit Connor's American cousin, playing Ray, and he's amazing. And then, of course, we can't forget David Johnson. I mean, he, again, is just showing he's one of our finest actors of our age. Just looking what he did with Alien Romulus to what he's doing here. And thankfully, those two are the main characters. Those are the ones we spend the most time with. We develop that relationship that they see together, and they give truly the most heartbreaking and memorable moments of the movie. The other people are just kind of eh. I mean, the soldiers, of course, we don't care about them. They're just there to shoot people. We don't care. Mark Hamill even is a throwaway. He's too over the top, and every time he's on screen, I'm like, I don't care about you.
It's not his best work.
No, and I can't tell if that's just how if that's how he was directed to do it, if that's how the part was written, because it's a very throwaway character, anyways. Despite being pivotal,
it should have been for Brian Cox.
Yeah, I mean pivotal to this thing. But yeah, the other kids are fine. Every time one of them was talking specifically, there was the one kid who had the gum. I think you know who I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Every time he opened his mouth, I wanted to be like, dude, I don't care about you. I want to go back to our two main characters and learn more about them. So. Now, that being said, we know the premise is that you get killed if you don't walk fast enough. So it was still just as heartbreaking to see these kids get killed because, I mean, the practical effects are brutal in this thing, first of all. Yeah.
Absolutely brutal. All I will say, and I won't say who, like I said, but the first shot tells you what kind of movie you're in, how brutal the violence is going to be. It is shocking.
And just the torture they put these kids through. I'm not going to go into details, but yeah, it's like, so as much as I don't feel the acting was up to par from the other characters, it still didn't make it any less traumatic when all of a sudden they're just like getting their heads blown off. And that never, I don't want to say gets better, but you never become immune to that. Like at the end of it all, the first time it happens is just as hard to watch as the last time it happens.
I agree.
It doesn't ever go
never
away.
Desensitized to
I agree. That is true. And I remember when I made my comment about the acting on our group text, and I likened some of the performances to something you might see on SNL. And Brooks, your reaction was, I think we saw different movies. Why did you say that?
I think I just wasn't as annoyed with the other characters as you guys were. I know that they weren't the best, but I also know that that's what they're there for. They're to either antagonize the audience or the main characters. And I think it also may be there just to surround those two to make you like them even more and make them even more relatable because they're the two standouts and the rest are complete fodder, which is fine because as soon as you figure out who the two main characters are, you know all the rest of them are probably going to die at some point.
But don't you think your feelings about the two main characters would have been enhanced by an ensemble that was at their level? I understand the concept of the ensemble being something they play off of, but I'm talking about acting and delivery of lines, not so much the way the characters were written. I just feel like a cast that matched them, Brooks, would have made them even more sympathetic.
Well, they would have had to do more rewrites with the screenplay as well
Oh,
because
totally.
you didn't like that either.
That's true. That's a good
So,
point. Fair
so they were
point.
kind of just working with what they were given, which is really weird too, because it's from the same guy that wrote and directed Strange Darling, and that movie is really good. And so I was kind of excited when I saw that he wrote this, and it's maybe he wrote this before Strange Darling,
I wonder.
which could always be the case. It's kind of like it's a weird comparison, but like Kevin Williamson, he wrote Scream after I Know What You Did Last Summer, but Scream came out first, and so everyone was so excited for I Know What You Did Last Summer, and then that screenplay was nowhere near up to par of what we got from Scream, and so maybe it's that kind of situation.
The people amongst our listeners who read this book, even if they read it decades ago, like I did, are going to recognize choices that the director made that are different than the book. That never bothers me. I understand film is a completely different art form. The story has to be told in a way that's specific to the art form you're actually in. And I've never felt like you have to have slavish, obedient, almost religious
Never.
adherence to what happens in the
You
written
shouldn't.
text. I've never felt that way. And this movie deviates quite a bit. And I'm not going to say how because I don't want to spoil anything, but I really felt like the deviations were poorly chosen. It didn't work. There's one at the end in particular that I really thought was a miss. And I think there were others during the story in terms of which characters were filling what archetypal purpose in the plot that I also thought were weaker than the written version of the story. It's just my own critique. This was the director that did a couple of the Hunger Games movies.
A bunch of them.
All of
So-
them except I think the first one.
All of them except the first one,
Yeah. I
exactly.
think so.
So he knows attritional, heartbreaking stories where kids get killed, right? He knows how to do this. And I agree with Adam that the kills all hit really hard. It never gets easy to watch it. But he made some choices with the source material that I just thought landed flat. Did either of you read the book?
I started to. I got 3 pages in, and it just felt like I was reading the screenplay, so I kind of stopped. But
Yeah.
I talked to Rebecca Frost after the movie, and she said that for her, the reason she loved the movie as much as she did, and why the movie worked as well for her, is because they took out all of the Stephen Kingisms. So I don't know, maybe you like the Stephen King isms, and
Yeah, I hadn't
but
thought
I
of it
haven't
that
read
way.
it, so I don't know which ones they. I do know one thing that happens with how a character dies, and there's.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
know that
first of
one
all,
too,
it's
and I was like-
scientifically impossible. So
Yeah, and it was the kid I was talking about with the gum, apparently.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's one that I was going to read, and I think it's funny we're talking about like is this novella or a short story. I mean, it's 400 pages long, so I guess for King that is a short story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's definitely one I would want to read just to kind of see the differences. I just pulled up the Wikipedia page and I could see just from the skimming it the differences in there, but I can't compare it to anything. I know we talk so much about don't make the book exactly like the movie and vice
Right.
versa.
Right.
With the exception that Brooks and I have brought up multiple times was Knock at the Cabin, because the way they changed the movie
Ugh.
changed the complete everything about the
it's a
book and the
completely
story.
different movie. Than
Well,
Yeah,
s-
so-
some of the changes this director makes do the same thing. and
Okay,
they
I'll
are-
trust you on that because I haven't
They
read
are
it. So.
that substantive. They're that consequential, and
Oh, wow.
I don't think they were
Yeah.
good choices. But
Like I just saw the ending of the actual book as compared to this, and that's
Yeah.
definitely right then and there a lot different.
like I said, I don't fault the director. I keep saying the director because I cannot remember his name to save my life. Can one of you help me?
Yeah, it is Francis Lawrence.
Francis Lawrence. Thank you. I should remember that because of Jennifer Lawrence. No relation. Anyways, I found it to be weak in terms of the choices he made, and I just thought the performances were too much. So I'm going to score it first because I want you two to be able to have the last word on this because I think you liked it more than me. I went into this with a great deal of enthusiasm because I loved the book so much and I was disappointed. But that being said, I love how lean and concentrated and absolutely focused it is. But I'm at 2.5 stars. Adam, where are you?
I'm at 3 stars. I think as time went on, it's some of the things kind of came to light that I didn't like about it. I will say that you will walk out irrevocably scarred. Like this thing bites a piece of your soul, chews it up, and spits it out, and you ain't getting that back.
Yeah.
I do think there are some incredibly strong performances from the leads, not so much the other actors. Now, I will say though, is that they filmed this marching, so they marched between 12 and 20 miles a day to do
Oh, wow.
scenes. So when some of the shots of them just like walking like totally out of it or tired, like that's actually a real life shot. It's not just hey they're acting. It's like no they're that tired.
Oh,
So
wow.
that could have been part of it was like the real life acting of having to do all this stuff could have affected them because they got in real life they had all the same things their characters did, blisters, shoes falling off, like Charlie horses, all that kind of stuff. So the acting from the other characters do detracted for me. Mark Hamill's character, as important as he was a throwaway, but everything else, like it landed so well for me. So not a perfect movie. It's not a Twinless, but I never want to watch it again. I kind of want to buy a copy to support the filmmaker, just so I can put it on the shelf and say like, okay, I did my part. But yeah, 3 stars. Like I did really like it.
Brooks?
I like what they did, and I love that Francis Lawrence finally gave us probably the best version of the Hunger Games that he has so far.
It's true.
Which is also kind of funny because
Yeah,
with it also being Lionsgate, I wonder if maybe he was also kind of still a little bit on a leash and they wouldn't let him maybe do as much as he wanted. But what he was able to pull off, I was a fan of, and I like the lead characters. The acting was great from those two, particularly. Mark Hamill, you knew what was going to happen. I mean, there's no surprise there. And there's a twist that you can see coming a mile away involving him and another character. So,
which I didn't care about. Like I
yeah,
just didn't.
exactly.
It didn't matter.
That
Well,
is in the
especially because
book.
you don't care about that character.
Yeah. It's different the way it plays out, but that
Mm.
is in the book.
But to make you as in not necessarily invested, but interested, and the way that it's like you said, it's very lean and it tells one story from start to finish. And I like that about it. It's very simple, and especially for a Stephen King movie.
Yeah,
So I'm at 3 stars as well.
All right. 3 stars for Brooks. Adam?
3 stars.
And I'm at 2.5. Not a convoluted plot at all, but all of our guilty pleasures will be. We'll be right back. Welcome back to episode 42 of Big Movie Mouth Off. I'm Jeff Counts.
I'm Brooksburg.
And I'm Adam McDonald.
Guilty Pleasures Convoluted Plot Edition for the number 42. I have to tell everyone in the listening audience that I instituted a no Nolan rule for this because it would have been very easy to pick Memento or The Prestige or something
Anything.
like that.
Even his Dark Knight movies.
Exactly. But there's a no Nolan rule here.
Okay, I gotta look for a new one. Then I totally forgot about the Nolan rule.
All right.
Texted us, Adam.
Well, Adam looks for a new one. Brooks is going to give us his.
Maybe he can have one of mine. So I came up, the reason I'm gonna stick with two quickies is because one's a good movie, a great movie, and the other one is a really bad one. So the first one, the good one, is David Fincher's The Game with Michael Douglas.
Oh,
that
yeah.
most people probably don't even know exists or that Fincher did it. But it's honestly, I would say his most underrated movie. And it's got an amazing screenplay. Michael Douglas is giving an amazing performance. Even, who was his brother? Oh yeah, Sean Penn. Sean Penn, he's crazy in it. All of them. And the screenplay is just twisty and turny from start to finish. And even at the end, you're still kind of not quite sure what happened. And then on the flip side, there is Michael Crichton's Sphere, which that movie is just no, well, maybe pun intended, a ball of not so much fun as it should have been because the book is so good and the movie is so bad. So those are my two.
Well, you get a twofer from Brooks because Adam didn't follow the homework assignment and he's looking right now. So while Adam looks for a replacement for Tenet, I'm going to say what my guilty pleasure convoluted plot movie is. And I couldn't believe it wasn't on the list already because it's a movie we've brought up a few times and it definitely has a convoluted plot and it is definitely hated by most people. I'm talking about 2011 Zack Snyder Sucker Punch.
I saw that on a bunch of lists and I kind of wondered.
I saw it on a bunch of lists too, and I
hate you.
couldn't talk myself out of it. Is that what you picked?
That's what I just picked. Yeah. So we're gonna be twinsies on this one because
I've
I know
never
that
seen
movie
it,
too.
by the
We're going to
way.
be twins again. Well, what I love about it, Adam, before you jump in, is the critique of it is that it is a nonsensical mess that is simply just a vehicle for Zack Snyder to make eye candy for us. And my response to that is, yeah, so I love it. It is definitely nonsensical. It is definitely a mess. But I actually really like the performances. I think the cast is super fun and it looks like a dream. It looks like 10 dreams. Adam, why'd you pick it?
For everything you just mentioned, but I will caution you that I fully recommend watching the R-rated cut because the PG-13 cut, the couple things that aren't in it, take the movie apart. And
Totally
I
agree.
first saw it as a PG-13 one, hated it, saw the R-rated cut. I'm like, oh wait, and it's not, there's nothing really bad in it that makes it R-rated. It just has a couple extra things, but the scenes and I think it has an extra song, puts it all together. But this literally is Zack Snyder's id on screen.
Totally.
Like we just had to take him, condense him down into like a film reel and put it up there. And that's who he is. That's, I think, what goes in his head every night when he goes to sleep. But yeah, it's a musical, which doesn't make sense. And all of a sudden it does make sense. It very much reminded me a bit of Shutter Island in the way they kind of handle some of the stuff. Kind of like there's it's like a Bioshock kind of in there a little bit too. Like it is just extreme out there, over the top, but in all the absolutely positive good ways. And I know a lot of people don't like it. I think it's a great movie though. I don't even want to say it's a guilty pleasure for me because I really do truly enjoy it. Wasn't this one of Oscar Isaac's first things too, I want to say?
I don't know about first things, but he's definitely in it. And he's
It was one of his earlier things,
Yeah.
before he got into his Star Wars era and everything else. But it's one I don't watch all the time because you got to be in the mood for it. It's not just like, oh, it's on TV, let's watch it, because you kind of have to pay attention.
Yeah.
But it is one I'll go back and revisit every couple of years and love it just as much the first time as I do every time afterwards.
It's like Tarsem Singh and Terry Gilliam had a movie baby and,
Yes.
and let Zack Snyder raise it. And I just think it's fabulous. So Brooks, what were your two again?
97's The Game and 98's Sphere.
And Adam, we both picked
Sucker Punch.
And real quick, for the record, what was your Nolan movie?
It was going to be Memento.
Okay, well, good choice. But there are rules, and you broke them. All right.
I didn't break them because I didn't say it. I came up with something else.
All right, real quick on coming attractions before we wrap it up on episode 42. I'll go first. I saw this trailer recently, and I didn't even know this movie existed. But what got my attention is anytime Daniel Day-Lewis comes out of hiding, I pay attention. So there's a movie coming out in October, just a few weeks away as we record. It's called Anemone, and it's directed and written by his son, Ronan Day-Lewis. And Daniel plays a man with a dark past who's been hiding away in the North English woods for 20 years. And his brother, played by Sean Bean, comes to visit him. I can't really tell from the trailer what kind of movie this is going to be, except that it seems like it's going to be dark, a little sinister. But all that matters to me is the last name Day-Lewis. And I don't know much about his son, but this movie has the looks of somebody with a great vision as a director. So I'm very excited about Anemone.
I wonder how Sean Bean is going to die.
Well, probably early on.
You never know.
What are you looking forward to, Adam?
All right, so I actually have two. And one's part of this podcast and one's not. So the first thing I'm excited for, just saw the trailer drop I think a week or so ago. It's Luca Guadagnino's new film, After the Hunt.
Yeah.
So we don't know much about it except for, it's got a great cast. You've got Julia Roberts, Andrew Garfield. Basically, they all work together or colleagues at Yale. And this student named Maggie goes to Julia Roberts and says, hey, this Andrew Garfield's character assaulted me. You're not really given too much more of that. You can kind of assume what it was. And then everything kind of devolves and circles around this whirlpool of distrust. And, do we believe people when they come up and make these accusations? Or is it because she was a bad student? They start pulling her past apart. And it seems wibbly wobbly and just all the great kind of, not like a whodunit, but mystery you need to tear apart. And we all love Luca. So I'm really excited to see where he takes it.
And your Luca.
Do not doubt Luca. Do not bet against him. He's like Yorgos to me and Adam. Do not
Yeah.
bet against him.
So our second one, and this is the most important one. So a week after we launch this is FanX in Salt Lake City. And you need to come down there on Thursday at 5 p.m. into room 150D, where you can see yours truly and Jeff Counts on a panel about independent film and the loss of Sundance. So we're going to talk about, Twinless was at Sundance this year, so we know it has a big importance for us here.
Yeah.
So you can join us. We'll also be joined by Rebecca Frost, who we talked about before, and our good friend Tracy Mangum, all of us members of the Utah Film Critic Association. And yeah, have some fun with us talking about independent movies and the sadness that is Sundance leaving.
You do this a lot. It's my first panel. I'm very excited to have been invited. So thank you for that, Adam. I left it for the end so that this episode could have some true horror in it. Brooks, don't let me down. What's your coming attraction?
Well, this one actually is a family horror film, and I'm very excited. We've got Brian Fuller writing and directing and joining forces again with Mads Mikkelsen for Dust Bunny. It's about a little girl whose parents get eaten by the monster under her bed, and she hires Mads as a basically monster slayer to find out what happened. And Sigourney Weaver's in it, and it looks bonkers and amazing. And I'll watch anything Brian Fuller does.
I would watch 2 hours of Mads Mikkelsen just walking across the street.
Him as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
it's the Hannibal Hannibal's back together, baby.
Brooks, you're winning the title game for all of the coming attractions. Everything you mentioned has such a great title. Dust Buddy? Are you kidding me? That is fantastic. When's it coming out?
Looks like December.
And Adam?
So mine is After the Hunt, and of course, and more importantly, the panel I'll be doing with Counts at FanX this year.
And mine was a movie called Anemone, starring Daniel Day-Lewis and directed by his son, Ronan. That's going to do it for episode 42. If you come see Adam and I at FanX, make sure to come up and say hi. But until next time on the podcast, I'm Jeff Counts.
I'm Brooks Bird.
And I'm Adam McDonald.
Thank you for being with us. Big Movie Mouth Off was produced and edited by me, Jeff Counts, and co-hosted by Adam McDonald and Brooks Bird. Our theme music is written by Brian Z. Richards, and this show is dedicated to the memory of our founders, Jeff Michael Weiss, and my partner in crime for over 5 years, the incomparable Jimmy Martin.